Bama's taking on South Florida again this season at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and they feel like they left some of the game out on the field last year. They got an opportunity for some redemption. We're going to talk about that. Saban Field, a bunch of ceremonies in Tuscaloosa this week. We'll get into that as well and more right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Good morning, everybody. Let's get this thing going. And as I say every single day here, roll Tide. So everybody, welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, thumbs up. Thank you for hanging out with us. Roll Tide, everybody, as we get you started here on this Thursday, as we close in on Alabama and South Florida. And it is great to talk to all of you guys here today as we get this thing going. All right, Alabama with a rematch against the Bulls of South Florida. This was a game last year that was really a defining game for Alabama because of the fact that Alabama did not know who their quarterback was going to be. They didn't know what was going to happen. Milroe was suspended, apparently. He wasn't on the field, and it was Tyler Buchner, and then it was Ty Simpson. And Ty Simpson finished the game for Alabama. They got by with the victory, but it wasn't pretty for the Tide. And then from that point on, Milroe was the quarterback, and, of course, they won the SEC, and then they went on to lose in the college football playoff. So this is one of those games where Alabama has an opportunity to kind of get a little redemption. And when you talk about this matchup, I think that Alabama kind of feels like, in a way, that they left some of this one out there last year. They didn't play their best, and they've got an opportunity to play this year and try to figure it out. And I think that's what's cool about this matchup. I mean, you wouldn't really go down there a lot, but it's, I think, a 2-1 there and then 2 in Tuscaloosa type of trade-off. And for Alabama, it's all about what are they going to do differently this year that they didn't do last year. And I think that the feeling is that they didn't play up to their standard a year ago. You remember it was tied at 3 at the half. Bama eventually won the game 17-3. It was in some bad weather. The Tide never really took control of the football game. They did win it at the end. And I felt like that one really hurt Alabama as far as like the standings and all of that stuff go. Although when it was all said and done, they beat Georgia, they were still in the college football playoff and Georgia was out. But one of those games where you figure that this one was circled a little bit like, hey, let's do our best. Let's play the best that we can play. And let's see what this thing gets us, as far as taking a step forward with this season is concerned. And Kalen DeBoer kind of mentioned that on Hey Coach, his Wednesday coaches show, kind of basically was like, hey, the important thing is to go out there and win a football game and to try to figure out what, you can do better each and every day, listening to the players, listening to the staff. Yeah, this is how we've done it before, checking boxes. And when you feel like things are, stronger, meet the leadership, meet our staff, and then, go out there and get it done. Right. So they did that in the first game, and now they got to match up with South Florida. How's that going to translate? And you feel like Alabama, after the way they played in week 1, they're just going to rip right through them. We'll find out. But this is an offense, and we kind of talked about this already on yesterday's show, that's going to be able to really give Alabama problems with their pace, right? They're going to try to go fast. Obviously, this is the same offensive coordinator that was at Tennessee when they beat Alabama a few years ago. That was with Nick Saban. Alabama's offense is different now, kind of led by offense instead of defense. But, you just wonder, like, what's it going to look like? How's Alabama going to deal with this? And I think that this is a really good game for Alabama as they look ahead to Tennessee later on in the season. Maybe it's not Tennessee, but it's Tennessee light, and you get the opportunity to kind of just play a team with that style as you head that direction. So feels like this is one of those games where Alabama is kind of in position to get a little bit better. Now, the other thing, and one of the big questions that we have as far as, what the team's going to look like on the offensive line is that I still don't think that Caden Proctor is going to play. Now, Kalen DeBoer kind of saying, hey, I probably would have played him. He was obviously on the sideline with ice on his shoulder. Elijah Pritchard did a great job to fill in. I know he gave up a sack and it wasn't perfect, but he still filled in. Alabama dominated at the offensive line and they won that football game. So we'll kind of see how that progresses. But Wilkin Formsby's becoming one of the big players on this team, won the right tackle job. The offensive line, definitely a strength. And it's the thing that I feel like this Alabama team's going to rely on. And I think that they're going to continue to give their opponents a heavy dose of the run game as this thing goes on. But this is the last test before you go to Wisconsin and start to build towards the big games. Wisconsin, off week, home against Georgia, a really big 2-game stretch after Alabama and South Florida this week. But you can't look past that as, this season. Bama's got to keep an eye on the South Florida quarterback, Byron Brown. He is definitely a dual threat quarterback. He can run the ball. He can obviously throw it, able to hit big plays. And this offense, and we kind of got into this a second ago with Hendon Hooker a few years ago at Tennessee, if it's hitting, it is really, really tough to stop. So for the Crimson Tide and that defense with Kane Womack leading the charge there, they're going to want to get pressure on the quarterback. They're going to want to kind of stub those wide receivers at the line of scrimmage and make it a little bit tough for them to run the football so that South Florida becomes one-dimensional. I think that's something that we always talked about with Nick Saban. It was always the game plan to make your opponent one-dimensional, as they move forward. And, and if you're able to do that, Alabama made teams one-dimensional, and they beat them most of the time. One of the most exciting parts of this year's team, and I think I mentioned it yesterday, was Cole Adams, the wide receiver and punt returner for the Crimson Tide, and someone that you can tell is really fired up about returning punts. Yeah, Javi Arenas, Cyrus Jones, Jalen Waddle, Kool-Aid, who was doing it last year, and then was by the end of the season running away from punts. It's exciting to see Adams running to the punt, trying to make plays, trying to do things on that special teams side of the football. And it's exciting as Alabama gets ready for the Bulls of South Florida to see what that will look like. You don't want him to fumble, but you do like the fact that the guy's not afraid to go out there and make some plays. Alabama and South Florida coming up 6:00 on Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow to, again, talk about the game and get you ready right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. But it's exciting, man. It's hard to believe that we're already just a day away from another football game, right? Or a couple days away from another football game. Gets here fast. Show's brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Make sure that you take advantage of the sports book and the Golden Moon Casino. Play 50 at the sports book, and you can go over and take care of your golf itch at Dancing Rabbit for $40. It's the Augusta that you can play. Don't even need a membership. So mark my words, you'll love it over there. Geyser Falls is the water park. They've got Gary Allen and Scotty McCrary coming up as they celebrate 30 years at Pearl River Resort. Great concerts that'll be coming up here in the next month or two. So find out for yourself, and thank you guys, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Roll Tide.
To Pearl River Resort.